I'm gonna start with the hospital thingy and then get back to you guys figuring
I've just
out
decided that Dahlia is going to wrap Dowser up in all kinds of scarves and everything else and put a hat on him so that we can head outside.
Fair enough. Ella and Julian, you are walking not that far actually, but then you reach a massive park. Obviously, it's dimly lit. The view distance is not that great because of the fog, but there are lights here. But it's massive, and it seems it's not for. You can't drive a car through here. You can maybe take a bicycle, but that's about it. It's very forested. There are some open glade areas and some small ponds, but you kind of just cut through in the direction the guy pointed, and eventually reach a very wide road, where an ambulance drives past you guys, towards a massive building in the background. You can barely see it, but you can see the lights and kind of the shape of the building. It is huge. It is the largest building, not the tallest, but the largest building in all of town. Around the entire hospital grounds is a massive wall with barbed wire on top. There is a gate where visitors, or I don't know, if you're kind of checking yourself in and you're not arriving by ambulance, and that's the first point you reach. A guard sitting in a little shed kind of thing, and asking people what their purpose is, since none of you are bleeding profusely or looking like you're have bars all over. He kind of steps out of the shed. He's holding a thermos because it is quite cold. You still blushed. You are glowing, obviously, because of the wingman, arm in arm. And he smiles politely and says, "Evening. Are you visiting or?"
Oh, good evening. Yes, I'd like to visit and speak to the whoever the head of the hospital is, the leader of the administration, if that's all right.
If it's going to be difficult, unfortunately, I can't set anything up with you, but you can always ask inside. You seem like good people, so you can head inside. He opens a gate for you guys, a kind of a metal grate thingy that people on foot can walk through. The main road is just guarded by the bumpers, like going up down kind of thing. The building is, as I said, very large, and there's a part, the northwestern part is it has an additional fence around it. Kind of gives you prison vibes, at least that part. There are very few lights on in that part of the building, but the main reception area in the hospital is brightly lit, and you see people going about their night shift in there. Obviously, it's not as active as during the day. You enter, and immediately, Julian, you're hit with a smell that you haven't smelled in a long time. It's a mix of strawberries and cinnamon. Very potent. It reminds you of a certain woman you used to know.
And he's like kind of like craning his head around, not to see, but like to hear and also get more of the smell. And so he has like that. When you smell something and you have that sudden nostalgia, he suddenly feels it very strongly, and he's just kind of like looking around. One thing I would like to ask, may I do a awareness roll just to get a whole, like, just to extend out like my senses to the hospital? And I'm particularly looking, are people, is there like crying, moans of like pain? Does it seem like there's a lot of like suffering here in this place? Are the people being treated well? Kind of
Probably
thing.
depends on the wing. I mean, obviously it's a hospital, so some people in here are in pain. And you do hear the more creepy sounds are probably coming from the asylum part of the hospital at night. But most other wings are they're very quiet because it's nighttime. People sleeping. They're medicated. They're sedated, that kind of thing. Obviously you hear 1,000 beeps from all over, from machines. And over the, the usual, you can't ever hear is like in the background. Yeah. And there is a large reception area with nurses behind it, kind of greeting people, and the usual, fill out the thing and the insurance and blah 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 blah. I can't really tell how it works in America, but that's just what I assume. That you kind of have to check yourself in and make sure that you can afford, because this is not a free clinic. The smell is coming from there. That's what I can tell you. Behind the reception.
He will hearing maybe like the sound of like keyboards or something like that, or like phones and stuff like that. I think he would make his way. He'd like lead them over to the reception, and also driven by curiosity regarding the smell, the familiar scent. He would think that's the place to go if you want to talk to the person in charge, or at least get in touch with them.
Ella, you have sight, so you kind of see Julian. He looks like a tracking hound. He's kind of tilting his head back and like taking deep breaths through his nose and tilting his head to listen, and seems quite focused on. Well, you can see her, a woman, bright red hair, quite pretty, nurse uniform, standing behind the reception counter. Everyone in here is looking at you guys, because it's hard not to when you have on. And there's a radio playing quietly, and you take a few steps towards the reception area, and there's kind of a like the channel changes, and then Don't Fear the Reaper starts playing. Kind of weird, and one of the nurses are kind of fiddling with the radio and changing the station back, but you do hear for a moment Blue Oyster Cult comes on for a few seconds with Don't Fear the Reaper.
Julian will walk over to the red-haired woman, though he can't recognize her by sight. Of course, he doesn't know, but that's where the smell is at its strongest, and it's also the desk that he wants to get to as well.
Yeah.
Hello.
She looks up, sees the cane. Obviously, you can't see that, but Ella can. Says, "Good evening, sir. How can I help you?"
Could you please, may I please get in contact with whoever the head of the hospital is?
Dr. Welborn is a very busy man. It's going to be a little bit difficult. You can see she's hesitant, and I need you to do a charisma and persuasion plus Ella's presence plus your discipline thing plus your handsomeness.
I'm a beautiful boy. Charisma. Okay, so 2 for stunning, and then how much is it for the awe?
How much do you have in presence, Ella?
4 dots.
Okay, so 5 dots.
Good God Almighty! Oh, so you're giving me 3?
Yeah, she's giving you 5 dots extra.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. 5 dots. Oh wait, so 5 dots extra plus the stunning that I have.
Yes.
gracious. Wow. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of dice for 4.
You could take half. Just say it.
4 is alright.
All right.
I just wanted to have the small chance of you going berserk.
I would like to talk to the head of the administration, please.
She smiles. She thinks for a moment. She looks at Ella, trying to figure her out, and then says, "I'll call and see what I can do."
Thank you. You're so kind.
Any name I can give, Mister?
Julian. And he'll put out his hand to shake her hand.
She normally wouldn't do it, but she stretches it through the small opening in the glass, and shakes your hand. Immediately puts ethanol on it and goes to the phone. And you obviously can hear the conversation. Ella might be able to pick some things out because of the background noise, but you're pinpointed with it. So she's calling up to a Nurse Davis. There is a Julian looking for Dr. Wilborn. You can also hear the other end of the conversation, and he is busy, and she just says, "Just a moment." She doesn't hang up, but she walks back to you guys and says, he's very busy, and she needs to know what this is about.
Let him know that he may have been informed that I would be speaking with him, or I needed to talk to him. I'm looking forward to talking with him about possible employment.
I see. She walks back, relays the information, hangs up, and says, "If you just wait here, Nurse Davis will come and get you." Quite easy to get lost.
Thank you. And just a quick question, storyteller. He doesn't have he can't see what the receptionist looks like, but with what senses he does have available, with her, does her voice sound familiar?
Exactly, and like hers.
And like the feel of like the hand, like, you know, he's like when he shook her hand, it was very much reminded him.
Yeah, I mean, the voice, the smell. She obviously does not speak like they did in the 1800s, but the tone, everything is the same. And that unique smell that, yeah, you haven't really experienced since.
When she directs him to go back, he does kind of take like a second or two where he doesn't fully like turn around. He's not like looking at, he's just like taken aback by this. And then he kind of like catches himself and he's like kind of like nods in the direction of Ella, and let's find a place to sit.
Takes about 5 minutes, then some doors to your left of the reception are opened. A nurse in different colored scrubs, green as far as I recall, because the normal nurses are wearing red in this hospital, but she's wearing a green uniform. She is African American, and she walks directly towards you guys, like she knows, and says, "Mr. Julian," and she looks at you, Ella.
Oh, he wouldn't know this. Never mind, he can't see. But she's doing. Yes, that's me.
And you are?
The first name is Ella.
And you are? She looks.
I'm here, and so she'll mention or like nod towards Julian. I've accompanied him today throughout the city.
She looks at
She's
the
my
cane.
chaperone.
She looks at the cane and nods, smiles a bit. She seems a bit more stern than the other nurse, and she says, "If you would just follow me."
Thank you.
You walk past or through a wing, and then you eventually hit a locked door where she swipes her card, and you walk through that. There are guards sitting in kind of cages, and this becomes more prisony. Then you walk through another set of locked doors. Then you walk through a set of barred doors, and then a set of another barred doors, and you get into the asylum part of the hospital. And then the, well, moans of the mentally unwell, and all the sounds that you could imagine coming from an asylum for very ill people. She leads you up a set of stairs, and outside it's a wooden door, which is the weird part because the rest are made of metal. And there's a sign on the door that says Dr. Wilborn. She knocks twice, and you hear a man's voice. Just says enter, and she opens the door for you to let you guys in to a very nice office. Old school, quite big, a lot of cabinet space and journals and everything on the walls. He's sitting behind a desk. There's a laptop on the desk and some papers. He quickly flips around as you guys enter and gestures towards the very nice armchairs. Please take a seat. I do not have a lot of time, so let's make this quick.
Of course, thank you. And he'll kind of like, he doesn't know where this chair, like he kind of does the thing with the nurse in the room, like he doesn't know where the chair is. And he just, slowly sits down into it and stuff like that. And
he seems quite like he has a lot of authority, patience, straight back, almost military kind of in his way of carrying himself. He is about 6'2", also African American, like Miss Nurse Davis. He has the lab coat on and look like you would expect from a doctor. Well, in this case, probably a psychiatrist.
would there be any indication whether or not the doctor is human or kindred or something else? Like, would there be any way to tell, or?
Well, his heart is not beating right now, at least.
That'll do it. There we go. And that aligns with what we were told, if I remember correctly, that he was also a kindred, so that confirms. Well, thank you for seeing me or seeing us. Is this an oak desk?
Mahogany.
And it's got a nice scent to it. Well, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I just wanted to. I was told that you would probably reach out to me, but the night was still young, so I thought I'd just come here. I was hoping I just could discuss an important matter that could be of benefit to both of us, potentially.
Yes, Kaya did send a bird earlier. Congratulations on surviving her.
Oh, she was quite pleasant.
I think you're the first one to say that. Everyone else is terrified of her. Excluding me, of course.
She has a deep sense of justice, but knows mercy as well. I admire that trait, which is the reason why I'm here.
Well, she believes in punishment. I am more of a rehabilitation of.
Well, I take it you are a doctor, yes, and you believe in the concept of alleviating suffering, yes?
Yes, of course. I took an oath.
Though
most of my patients are, insane, to put it bluntly. I take a special interest in what might not seem curable or treatable.
I must admit, I don't have much experience with the mind, but I've spent a lot of time around sickness and maladies of the flesh in the physical form. For many of those, there is no rehabilitation. Well, is the nurse still in the room, by the way?
No, she left.
Okay. I'm a bit concerned you may be put off about what I'm about to say, but, well, I have no other choice but to be here and just discuss this with you. Our kind, of course, have certain abilities that are a bit unnatural. I have the ability to tell and ascertain how and when and the method by which someone will die. Have you ever heard of anyone possessing these abilities?
I am familiar with Auspex, not that particular gift, but
Yes. I've been informed that it's something that is not very common of those of my particular, what do they call it? Bloodline, or clan rather, but...
you don't seem like Hikata to me.
No. But I can see how someone will die. I can see it as if I could see in... And he will remove his glasses. You see it's fully, like, faded out, like white eyes. It's the only time I can really see. I don't know if it's a cruel joke, but... it's what the powers that be have given me. And so... I know when someone is a lost cause. And I know when to alleviate their suffering is something that must be a necessity. And in a place like this, I believe I can be of use to you.
Before I ask something of you, he looks at Ella. How do you fit into this, Miss Quinn?
I've got a direction for management.
Oh.
Both personal and teamwork. Project management or otherwise.
A distant cousin, perhaps? He smiles.
Well, no. Possibly.
So you're not here to take part in Mr. Pleasant's deal? You're simply here as an overseer?
I don't know if there is any part of this deal that Julian would like to extend. They seem to be able to handle it on their own, unless you yourself see that there's something within our lineage that might be shared and equally valuable.
Well, Julian, I assume you don't want to be a part of my staff. You seek a safe feeding ground, yes?
Yes.
You have particular tastes. I'm familiar with that.
And he looks surprised, like, you already know. I was afraid I'd have to tell you. I was bracing myself for it.
I'm good with seeing the real people behind the mask. It's a necessity in my line of work.
Of course. Yes, I try to walk a path of beneficence, but that's difficult for those of our kind. If there is a way in which I can alleviate the suffering and pain of the dying and the doomed, those whose fate has been decided to be one of terrible horror, if I can help them and ease their passing while also feeding myself, I'd like to do that here if I may.
I don't allow feedings in my hospital, but I will make an exception if you do something for me. You're new to this town, yes?
Well, new is relative. I've been told been here before, and I've been here for 34 years, they tell me. But I have no memories. I am a stranger to this place.
Well, I've been here for longer and I've never seen you. But my point is, have you seen the missing posters?
I unfortunately no. And he just kind of gives like a little smile.
Heard about
I
them.
Ella
have
shakes her
Sorry.
head. Ella has, for sure.
He's kind
I
of
know that-
looking at you both.
I know there's many lost souls here, trapped all around in this town.
Well, I'm looking for something more mundane. To be perfectly blunt, there is a serial killer in the town, and I would like to diagnose them. But you could imagine if the police would get their hand on him or her, then Kaya would get her hands on him or her, and I would not be allowed to treat them.
You walk the path of forgiveness.
Oh, curiosity, at least.
Is this killer, do you believe him to be one of us?
No,
One of our kind?
not at all. Human,
Hmm.
but they're good. Because, well, Kaya has not found them. So they must be very good. But if you could either make a deal with Kaya or get that person to me before, well, her. But be aware, as soon as she finds out what you're doing, she's going to ask you to bring that person to her. And not me. But that is my demands.
You drive quite a hard bargain. Well,
You're going to be the only exception. I don't allow feedings in my hospital.
if there is a killer on the loose, I believe it behooves those in power to find them. I will try what I can to aid in this venture, and he'll put out his hand to shake it.
He gives you quite a firm grip. Ella, you can also see he is quite fit and muscular for a doctor. He was probably
Thank you for
something
this.
before he died. Well, you're welcome, Mr. Pleasance. I'm looking forward to see you again, hopefully with a serial killer in hand, preferably not dead.
Of course. We'll do what we can. And he kind of like looks over at Ella, sort of expectantly a little bit, like maybe a bit presumptuously. Like,
She'll just look back at him. She doesn't know exactly what she was walking into, so she's going to keep her cards close. Is there anything else that we have to do here?
oh no, that's it. Thank you so much, both of you. Really. I have to say, everyone we've met so far has been, I would say, a decent moral character, which is unique. I find it refreshing.
You met Kaya.
Mhm.
Assuming you met Margaret. And definitely the Baron. So I'm probably the first.
I'll just say the time that I grew up in was much different. The frontier was very cruel. We live in far more civilized times.
Thankfully.
Anyway,
Well, you shake
good evening, Doctor.
both
Yeah.
your hands. You leave. And you are escorted out of the hospital. Or at least out of the asylum part of it. But before you do, Julian, can you do a wits and awareness?
Yes, my lord. Let's see.
Ella, you can also do it if you want to. It's just
Which role am I doing?
wits and awareness.
I'm actually gonna willpower that. Let's see. Yeah. 4 successes, my lord.
Yes.
Sorry, the name of the roll.
Ella, the only thing you get is there's definitely a basement. You can hear it on your steps. It's not solid ground. There's something downstairs in the asylum. Julian, with your super ears and one success ball, you do hear what you think is screams. Very faint, coming from downstairs. And that's
Does it sound like mad ravings or like torture?
bit
Or
of
both.
column A, bit of column B.
Oh,
I mean, depends on who you ask.
he'll definitely make note of that, but he doesn't want to shake things up. He's already made a good deal as far as he's concerned. He'll be spending more time here once we find the serial killer. That's he's rationalizing it.
Yeah. And the only other thing that you hear is when you walk out, you hear 2 nurses talk. One of them, well, the woman with the smell, you hear her she's being referred to as Nurse Albright. So you get a name. And
He'll say it quietly to himself, Albright.
then we jump to Dowser and Dahlia and their feeding conundrum. Or
Did Ella hear that name?
yeah, you hear the conversation. Yeah. Well, you're standing with Dahlia, a dripping and a rotten Dowser. Kind of bloated.
Darling, this simply won't do. We're going to have to get you something to eat. And of course, you can't go out looking like all that. So, yeah. And she kind of like steps away quickly and looks around, you know. Do you happen to have a scarf or something like that to wrap up with, you know? So we can pretend you're sick in a way you are. You know, like that. There's something we can just wrap you around with. Yeah, cover this up.
I only have the clothes on my body.
The Guardian says the entire upstairs is, well, covered in linens.
Guardian, you're a lifesaver. Thank you very much. And she quickly steps up, steps to the other part of the house, and then comes back down a few minutes later with all sorts of colorful wrappings and things like that. Here, you have this, or you have this, or you have this, and she's just kind of like throwing them at you, and like, there, put some of that on, and then she's got like I've got a nice little fedora here for you. You're going to be just fine, or we can go with, the sea captain's hat here.
It's gonna look like the guy from the Addams Family.
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very on theme, like that sort of thing. And she's just kind of like tossing these things at you, Go on, put some of those on.
It's slowly soaking, but yes, he is at least covered.
Yeah.
You don't know how he can contain so much water, actually. It just seems like he's in like that endless supply of
She figures it's definitely not natural. It's definitely some kind of supernatural aquatic curse that he's got, and she's going to find out in time, what's going on with him. But the more important thing is to get him looking more like everybody else at the moment. And she, of course, feels that it would be best if they got outside the house and started to at least explore Dusktown a little bit more. Perhaps find out why Margaret's particular parcel is so small, or something like that, or even find Julian and Ella, meet up with them again. So let's get out of this house, she says, and she says, "Is there any place you want to go? Any place that you might feel more comfortable getting some refreshments?"
I just need some fresh vitae in me.
I just, we all have, our own little ways of, procuring what we need. So some of us have some of
I'll
our
deal
ways.
with that once we find someone. Don't you worry.
Fantastic. Okay. She's a little bit intrigued about how he's going to do this, but, 'cause she's not about to feed him herself. She's only covering him up because she doesn't want to break the masquerade and all that. So, she's like, well, then let's head towards Castle Park, shall we?
Sure.
We can check in with our dear speaker and perhaps even take in the sights a little bit. So,
How do you want to hunt, Dowser? The usual way?
Yeah, sure. I will chase someone down.
Do a normal hunting roll. To you, Dahlia, it seems he is extremely patient when choosing his prey.
Extremely.
Yeah, and walking like for a long time, stalking them, trying to figure out if they're the right kind of prey.
Oh, so he's picky.
It seems that way. 5 is good.
So I imagine while they're walking along and he's doing this, she's like, "How about that one? Or maybe that one. That one looks tasty."
He's ignoring your words and quietly paying attention to everyone, picking someone to follow.
There's not a lot of people on the streets, and that's why it takes quite a while. But you are a patient hunter, and how much do you want to slake?
2, if possible, without killing someone.
Well, it's not going to kill them, but leaving them on the ground in freezing temperatures is. So you can definitely take 2, and then I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do about the half asleep person on the ground? Do we have the 2 archaic players here? The wouldn't think of cell phones? Or do you have technology, Dahlia?
Just give me a second. I didn't realize that
I don't know what
was
that
correct.
is.
She is definitely firmly in the 18th and 19th centuries. So yeah, so she's like, cell phones, what?
So is Dowser.
Yeah. So you know what? Look, just make sure they're warm, right?
I have a way to attract people to them once we leave.
Yeah, and she paid attention to who he picked out eventually. So that's something she's also done. Like if he has a particular taste. So.
Well, it's not like a venture thing. I imagine it's.
No, but there's definitely something going on. So she's just.
What are we going for here, Dowser? Someone who will not be missed, correct? Or a specific type, so it's probably a homeless person.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. No one
Bundle
will.
them up.
You're not
yeah.
gonna break the masquerade, but you are gonna get a stain down, so just leave them there.
No, once we leave, I'll have my seagull fly over him and start screeching to attract attention. So other people might come and see someone unconscious.
Fair enough.
Interesting way of doing that. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you're at least trying, so you don't get a stain. And afterwards, you're going to the castle or somewhere else.
She was a bit curious about. Well, first of all, she just kind of wanted to get out because the other thing she's not telling him is that she wants to take a look using her Oblivion sight to be able to. I guess since the unseen is really kind of part of this for her. It was mentioned that there more than one occasion there's many wraiths, many spirits trapped within Dusktown due to the barrier, and she kind of wants to take a moment here. This stroll is not just to kind of get out of the house, but also to see if there are higher concentrations of them, in particular areas of the city, and things like that. Like she's looking for sight beyond sight here, and she's also getting a lay of the land spiritually, for Dusktown. So and I'll make the rolls for that you determine. But that's the real underlying purpose. Besides getting Dowser back to human form, this is the real reason she's out. And she's kind of like just layering on top of it. Oh, let's go see Margaret, or take a tour.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll slowly lead you towards the harbor as you look around for ghosts.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Huge concentration.
So her eyes are big, she's just kind of like looking around like, oh, wow.
The usual response you kind of expect is when you see them, they kind of do something or try to at least to engage with you. But as soon as you see them, they don't disperse, but at least they don't get close. They're looking warily at you.
Yeah, they're like birds, right? They kind of move away as
you seem like they're scared of you.
Yeah, of course they are.
They know what you are, and at least what you're made of deep inside. If you want to, you can do you have awareness route thins as a power?
Yes. And I would like to use it.
Yes, it's just a rouse. You don't need to do the whole thing.
Okay. So we will rouse. That's a rouse success. This comes very naturally to her.
The shroud is very thick, as you would expect, but it seems like they're trapped on the wrong side. What you also get out of the ritual you conducted, it tracks. They seem kind of faded or weak. Maybe they have, that wraiths, they feed off emotion.
Yeah.
Like you feed off blood. They seem like they're very drained. Which earlier in that night you also saw some wraiths. They didn't look like that. You don't know if it's this area, but you assume it's because of the ritual you did. That you kind of drained every wraith in the town, so they are weaker and easier to subjugate.
Interesting.
At least for the next 9 days.
Interesting. Oh, that's a very delicious piece of information.
But the shroud is weird outside. It's perfectly normal inside the sanctuary, but it's very thick out in the city. So your ceremonies are difficult. You would have to find a hole in it, or a graveyard perhaps next to a hospital somewhere where people died, but it's kind of unnaturally thick.
So let me clarify just everything you've told us. So on one hand, the wraiths are a little bit drained because of the ritual she performed inside the sanctuary. Yes. But you said outside the sanctuary, also the shroud is thick, and
it's unusually thick for the amount of dead.
Yeah. is there any? And this is kind of a long shot. Is there any indication of like, besides sanctuary, the ritual, of any other source that might be causing that? Does it have anything to do with the barrier? Is there any kind of something she can intuit from this situation to find out why it might be?
You assume it's the barrier because it's keeping it. You assume it's the barrier because it's keeping them in. Yeah. So it must be that, you think.
It's reinforcing the shroud as well.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so it's trapping them, but it's also like keeping them separate from everything else.
Yeah, but it's keeping them on the wrong side of the veil. Well, your side.
Yes, yes. But then on this side, my rituals might be at least to work with them. Not maybe to pierce the veil and go beyond, but at least to work with the spiritual population here would be easier, I assume.
Yeah, and you would probably be able to find a place where it's thinner. You assume the usual places.
Yeah.
And you have heard of Agnes, who's also Hecata. I think Cappadocian was the mention. And she's able to do it because Kaya told you. So there must be a way.
Yeah, of course. And I will probably want to speak with her at some point here. What district is she in? Because I have a list now that the Guardian helpfully provided.
He is in... Oh, questions. Really put those deeds in alphabetical order. North Lakeview.
North Lakeview. Great. We'll have to plan a visit there. Just to kind of talk with her. She probably knows a little bit more about the situation in a helpful manner. Okay, cool. And that's all the questions I really have. I'm going to follow Dowser to the harbor. Maybe stop by Margaret's on the way because it seems like it's on the way.
Which harbor? Are you walking directly south to just Moon Lake Harbor?
I assumed so. Yes. There's more than one? Because I only see Moon Lake here.
It's just the whole riverside.
Okay.
But yeah, let me see here. Largest one, kind of industrial. A lot of fishing boats, a lot of warehouses, very flat. And you can't see that far out into the lake because of the fog, obviously. There are some boats here and fishermen. At least the edge of the lake is iced or covered in ice. There are kind of paths carved into them for the boats to, like, they repeatedly sail in and out so it never freezes over. Multiple ships. There's a one guy you see is kind of rigging his boat. It's maybe a 10-man crew thing for fishing. But also you recognize him. At least you think you do. He looks exactly like your brother, but he speaks with an American accent. Well, then obviously your brother is dead. There's that. Oh yeah.
Seems there are more things than ghosts afoot in this town.
Why do you say that?
Well, yeah, blonde hair, brown, like he's outside a lot, and full beard, using blue eyes like Dowser. Dahlia, do you have a lot of insight?
I can check real quick here. I didn't have her character sheet up. Yeah, she got. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a lot, but she's got a reasonable amount. Yeah, she can certainly intuit things about people.
There's a slight resemblance, but you don't know if it's just the blonde hair and the blue fisherman's jacket.
They could be related.
He hasn't noticed you guys because he's breaking the boat, but
She
You-
files that away.
you are at least the edge of the harbor with the usual sounds. Obviously, it's in the middle of the night, so the activity is a little less.
If there's any way to get down to the water, I'll try to just get down to the edge of it.
Definitely. There's a bit of a drop because big ships needs to be able to anchor, but you can get to the edge and you can see, what would that be? To the right of you is kind of a shoreline. Further down, it's again hard to see because of the fog, but you can kind of dimly see it because of the light. And you also, without doing your particular role, you feel the water. Not that far, but you're very attuned with this element.
Dahlia is just kind of following behind at a close distance, like not right on his heels or anything, but just observing.
Without even turning around, Dowser will just ask, "We're alone, aren't we? There's nobody else watching?"
I can do a wits awareness.
The only one who would be able to see is the blonde man a bit further down the, where he seems occupied with the boat.
Just your apparent relative down there.
Well, that's good enough. And Dowser will just pull out a knife from his side, and he'll pull up his sleeve on his right arm, and he'll slash all the way down in Alta 2. And then he'll just put his entire right arm into the water, and I'll take 3 points of aggravated damage to activate my blood sorcery.
How far is that?
500 meters.
500 meters.
And I will look around and see what sort of bullshit I can sense in the water.
Very interesting. She is looking at this intently.
And I think as I lay my arm down in the water, as the blood starts pouring out, the water starts pouring in.
Nice.
Well, you obviously you sense with like a cube of 500 meter in the water. It's quite a deep lake. You obviously sense the fish that are kind of sleeping on the bottom because of the cold and everything, but you also sense large creatures swimming around. Kind of, they're bipedal, at least you think. They have 4 limbs, swimming around, kind of shaped like a frog. They're more than man-sized. Multiple of them, very deep. Deeper than, like, they can kind of swim deeper than your vision can go. If you imagine the lake is just like a pit, then you can't see all the way to the bottom. You feel multiple cave systems and entrances with these fish people are swimming in and out of. And it seems like they're hunting.
Well, I think I might have a clue of what goes down in the lake at least.
And then you feel like someone just jammed an icicle through your brain. And you hear whispers. And you see in your mind like a large yellow snake eye. Then another, until you see like just a net of eyes in a black void. And tentacles. And then your feeling goes away and you kind of have a headache, which is weird. But you think something didn't like that you looked into the lake.
Also, what sort of weather is outside?
Minus degrees. Cold. Not snowing, but there is snow on buildings. It is January in Maine, so I assume it's cold.
Then I'll also just sense around me on ground level through the frost if there's something trying to hide from us. Keeping watch.
You see through the fog because it's made of water. Nothing unusual. Normal amount. Well, there's not a lot of people on the streets. You can't see into people's homes. you can see through their pipes and how that all works, and maybe into a toilet somewhere, but nothing unusual. Unless, you can see people if they're showering, I guess. At least the
Amazing.
outline of them. As long as they're upstairs.
Dowser is the ultimate voyeur here.
But nothing weird or anyone watching you. Apart, I say anyone, there are things watching you. There are multiple rats, multiple bats, multiple birds, and a very large raven. And a cat.
Well, it seems there are animal spies watching us everywhere. Anyway, I think we should probably head back or something. We don't know where the others are. What are your thoughts?
Of course. That was a very interesting ritual you performed there.
Wasn't a ritual. Those are more fun.
It allowed you to, given your awareness of our watchers, it allowed you to perceive things beyond.
Lets me sense things. Like the fact that there are people the size of bears down in the water.
People in the water. Dead people?
Based on the fact that they're probably hunting down there, I don't think so.
Underwater fish people. That's new.
Something to deal with some other day, I think.
Like us, I assume, or no? They are just actual aquatic
I don't think
beings?
so. I think they're older.
Interesting. Something to
Might
look
have
into.
something to do with this fog around us.
Quite like the fog. I have to be honest. It feels nice. You know, it adds to the atmosphere of this place.
Well, we haven't tried touching it yet.
We haven't. But it just feels like it belongs here. Yeah. It does. As far as like where else to go, I don't know. Were we aware? I guess we were that Julian and Ella went to the hospital. Yeah. So Dahlia is fine walking back to rendezvous with the rest of our group and see what they were up to. Of course.
Gonna ask Ella and Julian, are you headed home? Or somewhere else? Not from Ella. Julian, going home? I guess you all meet back at the sanctuary. You can't see your accurate at damage stars, but you definitely feel it. Inside. You know what the toll it takes on you. But yeah, you meet up. Dowser is covered in all kinds of things. I don't know if you've taken them off after your fit, but
I think he just forgot they were on and just left them there.
Yeah.
To you, Julian, he smells a bit of water. Not seawater because it's a lake, but like he's been near the harbour. Like a little bit fishy, maybe.
But he looks better,
Definitely.
right? Yeah.
So he no longer looks like I think he's only ever seen him.
Oh yeah, you didn't
Davy
see
Jones locker.
You didn't see him perform his rituals, so to you, nothing has happened in that regard. He did that after you left.
Yeah. Hello there. I assume that your little trip to the hospital was productive?
Oh yes. We have another job to do, and I must say this is of great importance.
And then what job would that be?
We have to catch a serial killer.
And who are we working for?
Dr. Wilborn.
And she's going to put two and two together with the name of the hospital and in the name of the doctor here. And one of us, I assume.
Yes, that is
Hmm.
correct. It not only would it be good to take a killer off of the streets and deliver him to him or her to Wilborn, but it's very important to me for what for my purposes if we do this.
Your purposes, Julian. Could you help me? I want to help you in this, and I just want to understand. I mean, obviously, taking someone off the streets who might be robbing people of their lives. I could see where anybody might come from with that, but I was just wondering if there is a particular interest and a reason why you, and I assume Ella was there too, in keeping track of you and everything. Yes. Drawing up contracts, as it were. If there was something that drew you to the hospital, or your personal interests, as it were.
Oh, well, seeing as we all have history, I might as well tell you. Throughout my entire life, even when I was still breathing, I've always been around death. And, let's just say I've become accustomed to it at this point. And, Dr. Wilborn has given me, in exchange for delivering the serial killer to him alive for rehabilitation, that I will have free reign at the hospital to feed. Plus, from what I've seen, he seems to be a man of authority. A good ally to have. I will admit that, though, I do have, what's the word they would use nowadays? Humanitarian goals in this. I will admit that for my survival here in this town, I would need a place like the hospital. So, will you all help me with this?
Of course. Say no more. It's done. Yeah. Do we have any idea where? Oh, go ahead.
I believe that it could be advantageous for us to look for this individual, given that we'll be out looking for others as it is and making our way through the city. So we can do two things at once, yeah?
Indeed, yeah. And of course, removing such a problematic individual from the situation would also probably benefit us by making it easier for our law enforcement to not be distracted by or perhaps bring in other unwanted elements, with such a case, as it were. Do we have any clue, any idea where this particular person might be operating?
The only thing you have right now is the missing posters.
The people have been going missing.
It feels to me like we could either contact Officer Vasquez or perhaps Kea herself and see if they have see where they're at with this particular case.
It may be best not to let Kaya know what is happening. Dr. Wilborn is concerned that if she is made aware of what is happening, she may want to intervene and dispense justice upon the serial killer. I think it'd be best if we try and take care of this ourselves. I was thinking of perhaps speaking to any of the wraiths and asking them. There seem to be quite a good amount of them, and I know and sense where they usually manifest.
Can you speak with them?
I can certainly try. I can feel them. Can you speak with them?
I've been known to have a conversation with those beyond our material plane from time to time, yes. But I'm curious to see your abilities to be able to hold a conversation with those in spiritual form.
Well,
Perhaps you'd be willing to demonstrate. I would like to see.
storyteller, would I have spoken to, like, I don't know if I should say it or if I have or if I not spoken to a wraith. Like, do you need a special power to do that, or is it just like you look over at them and hello there?
Just need to be able to see them.
Oh, then he would say, yes, I have spoken to them before, though they haven't made for much conversation, but I'll see what I can do.
She tucks that piece of information away too.
Yeah, I was kind of like keeping it vague, because I'm like, I don't remember if there's like a specific power you need, so I just didn't, like, I can't say like, oh yes, of course, I have tea with them every day, you know. I can't say that.
I mean, the way I understand it is they're always able to see everyone, but unless you're able to see them, you can't hear them either. Unless there's probably like a wraith power that lets you do that, but I don't know that much about wraith, so I'm just going off the general thing, where if you're able to see, then you can hear.
Yeah.
You got to remember, I was a terrible Akata last Chronicle, so like, so I don't know these things. So, yeah, I'll see what I can do.
We could do that. We could take that approach. I still think that perhaps we don't necessarily have to approach Kea, but maybe Vasquez, we could talk to her simply out of an interest of something we heard about, you know, and maybe perhaps being aware of such a dangerous individual moving about the city.
Yes, and
that shouldn't set off any alarms, do you think? I mean, it's just simply asking about an open case, as it were.
I don't think so. Vasquez seemed to be a pretty good person.
Of course.
Trustworthy. And of course, I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. If there's need for bait, I'll take one for the team. It just gives you guys a smile.
It's quite generous of you, Julian. Yeah, Guardian, of course.
If I may, I feel like I would be a poor servant if I didn't point this out. If you are to converse with the dead, perhaps you should seek out the necromancer.
Can we just simply walk outside the barrier and just, hello, spirit? I can see you.
Mistress Dahlia, what happens when you see the race? They're scared, yes?
Yes. Well, they seem to be not interested in our company.
It's simply a suggestion, master and mistress. The other
I believe
thing
the Guardian
is,
makes a fine point. I do believe our resident spiritualist would be able to assist us in this task if you want to approach the spirits that way. Julian, I have no doubt of your conversational abilities with these spirits, but they just seem reluctant. There's something bothering them. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be averse to our presence, and for some manner of reason. I'm sure it has nothing to do with you.
To converse with them in that way, does it require you to bind them or do anything untoward to them?
Imagine trying to get, let me put this in another way that you might better understand. Maybe you have ever tried to feed animals in a park? Yeah? Have you done that? No?
Yes,
Never?
I have. I'm quite partial to animals.
Well, these animals, right, they are not interested in coming anywhere close to us. So having conversation with them, obviously, is in much the same way with these spirits. We can't, unless you want to shout to them and things like that, which will seem super awkward to the normal people of this city. We are going to need some way to make them more willing as it were, to hold a conversation with us. And binding them could do that, yes, but that might be. Well, I would be willing to do that for you. I can, of course, do that if necessary, by your, of course, if it comes to that, and I would be willing to do that. But we might be able to converse with them in another fashion too, with her help.
I have another point to make. You're looking for a criminal and an FBI agent, yes? Perhaps
we are getting deeper into the law enforcement. Yeah.
Cross paths. I don't expect an investigator to openly share information about their cases, but perhaps someone with, he looks at Ella, superior conversational skills could do that. Or perhaps master pleasance.
Certainly. When I was hoping that it was a little more eloquent or forthright, that's definitely what I was alluding to earlier when I said that we were going to be scouring the city. My apologies for not being more thorough, but yes, doing two things at the same time will be the best use of our time management skills.
Indeed, kill two birds with one stone, as the old saying goes.
Excellent. I'll just one thing I'd like to add: if we do go that route of corresponding with wraiths, I just ask that we go about it in as least distressing way as possible. Of course, the wraiths have been through quite enough already. I wouldn't want to add to their stress,
With a warm hand, blush warm hand, Dahlia's gonna, again gently, reassure Julian. Leave it to me. I will. You may trust me. I will make sure that no harm comes to them whatsoever.
May I do an insight check, Stormy?
I would like to do a subterfuge counter roll.
Okay, here we go.
It's not really a. I'm just thinking if you would. Yeah, let's just do it that way.
Would it even be necessary, or no?
It's hard for you because you can't see the expression and everything.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
The tone of voice.
She seems polite and everything, and I don't think you know enough about.
That's fair.
Oblivion to know how it works, but.
Like, do I get a vibe from Dahlia? Like the extra, like the warm hand on the shoulder. I'm like, that's a bit much. I'm leaving it up. Like, I'm fine with that role. Like, just
the vibe is bad.
Oh, okay.
There's always like a chance for frenzy, so let's do a roll.
Okay.
With insight versus composure subterfuge.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's fair.
Dahlia, you get a +2 because he can't actually see you.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Does Julian get to add awe or no?
Yeah, he does.
Let's see here.
I get awe on top of that, or
yeah,
no?
Any witch roll, you get your height sense too.
Really?
It's an
the
power.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I could try to willpower that. But,
it's kind of futile.
Yeah.
At least you didn't get the bestial failure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the friendly beast.
Yeah.
That can help you out in exchange if you want a conversation.
I think she would absolutely intend to conceal her intentions by whatever. You know what? And I forgot to add a dice because I also have unswayable mind, which could potentially. I could add 2 more dice to that to any attempts to read her potentially, but I don't know. Those might only apply to powers of Auspex too if he's using them. I'm not sure.
That's a totally different one. That's a +3, but it's not trying to affect you. But I think.
But I would absolutely call upon the beast to mask her intentions. She would want to do that. That's in fact the way she's trying to reassure him is a manipulative kind of way, of doing that. So yeah.
Dahlia, your intentions are in the right place.
Yeah.
And obviously I support you in this endeavor. Binding wraiths is what we do, and you must bind as many as you absolutely can. So
They don't need to know that. Yeah.
you just do what you're doing, make sure that you seek out fetters, and continue on your quest. And I will help you here.
Okay. That's perfect. We're on the same page, Beast.
Julian, she is absolutely genuine.
I don't get like, because it would become a failure. Do I get a bestial failure?
No.
Okay. That was the part I was scared of. I'm like, he's like,
but what he's doing out of character is very stainy business. So the beast supports it. Definitely.
She appears almost very angelic in her interest in making sure that they come to no harm.
She absolutely wants to help you, and she has ways of making them talk.
I really care. I really Just eventually Dahlia just completely shifting to someone else.
I'm only here to help. Yeah.
Oh, then I'm happy to have you then. I think this will be... I think we'll be very effective. If anything, we may even help the wraiths at the end.
Indeed. Of course. Of course.
And he kind of smiles like a pleasant, like a Mr. Rogers smile or something. Like, we're gonna do good things in this town smile.
We certainly are. Yes.
The Guardian pulls out the letter again and hands it around, just to make sure that everyone has seen it. It's just 13 names and their domains.
It's very helpful, that list right there. And also that someone is missing from it.
Obviously, Julian, you can't read it. Sorry, but
it could very much help us to navigate this city. It's got everybody on there.
Almost. Except one. And you guys. Kindred, at least. There are other things than kindred.
Fish people.
He kind of looks like he's wondering what you're saying. Fish people?
Fish people.
Fish people.
Oh, yeah.
Like fishermen. Like
No.
Who fish.
No,
Is
like
that why-
full-on fish people. Have you not heard the rumors that there's fish people in town?
I smell water. Are they nearby?
I assure you, there are things beyond your philosophy, heaven and earth, that exist in this world. Fish people, for example.
The Guardian looks at you, Dowser.
If you don't want to meet them, don't go up to the bottom of the lake.
Oh.
Why? Why is that? Do they own it? Is it theirs?
It would seem that way. You don't often encounter things as large as that just swimming around hunting.
Oh, those. Yes. Now I know what you mean. They're not fish, but I get what you mean.
Oh.
And she's just kind of pointing to everyone like, yeah, see?
Well, I never learned how to swim. So, I'm not one for water. I won't be anywhere near that.
Well, we don't have to swim. You can walk on the bottom.
Oh. And he's like, oh,
You don't-
yeah, I can suppose I can. To intelligence, Julian coming out again, like, oh.
Just adds to the genuine. We are about the end of the session. So I think this is a good time to close everything out with the information of the fish people. And hopefully Henry will be back next time so you can kind of weird him out with it as well.
I'm
And I-
forward to that.
And I can tell you what he did in the background.
Have you heard about the fish people? Henry!
What have you guys
Fish people!
What have you guys drunk? Who have you fed on? I told you not to go near the fentanyl people.
what a cosmopolitan place Dusktown is. You know?
There's people in the lake.
Everyone
It's
running.
Innsmouth and shit down there, bro.
Have Vaughn been giving you fucking shroom blood?